I lost everything when I was outed. My job, my community, even my faith, and a version of myself that I've been hiding behind. I lost it all. I thought my story was over. Turns out, it was just the start of my hero's journey. Losing everything was my call to adventure. So what's calling you? Welcome back to the Good Life Lab. I'm Dr. Dave. I'm the founder of the Good Life Lab, where we experiment and explore with tools, tips, and techniques for improving our lives in some way. I'm a therapist and college professor turned YouTuber and content creator, where I want to share just my experience in life, the things I've tried to help improve my own mental health and well-being, but also my work with clients as a coach and a college professor and a therapist. If you've been following along, we've just been going through this series around story, the origin story that you've been living. Yesterday we talked about the exercise highs, hurts, and elixirs. And today we're going to talk about the hero's journey, the second part of the O in the compass of origin story and heroic journey. Why hero's journey? What is that all about? Well, across cultures and centuries, myths, films, and sacred stories follow a shared pattern. The ordinary person is called into an extraordinary adventure. Then this idea of the hero's journey, this framework, is really popularized by Joseph Campbell. He mapped this pattern into what he called the hero's journey with a series of stages. So I'm going to walk you through a few of those. There's many different versions of this, but just the key stages. One of them is a call to adventure, which I've talked about a couple of times. Resistance or fear. You're pushing back on that call to adventure, not wanting to go in that direction perhaps. Crossing a threshold. You eventually make a decision to listen to that call and you decide to kind of make that first step in that direction. Facing trials and allies. So a big part of this hero's journey in our life is embracing, finding, joining with allies that we come across. And then oftentimes, this is common for all of us, this dark night of the soul that we experience. It's very much a part of this hero's journey framework, which leads to a great transformation and then returning with a gift to your community based on what you've been through. So that's what I've talked about as the elixir, that key gift, that lesson that you've learned that will benefit other people. But here's what's interesting with this framework. It's been tested as part of research to see how this framework of the hero's journey might enhance well-being, might improve mental health and well-being. And the results are very positive. Psychologists have found that when people view their own lives through this heroic arc, they experience more hope, resilience, and meaning. A Time magazine article not too long ago even called the hero's journey a psychological technology for resilience, because it helps us see struggle as part of growth, not failure. So we've seen how reframing our lives and seeing our lives as a hero's journey can actually boost our mental health and well-being and increase our meaning in life. How do you do this in a practical way with your own life and story? One idea is to take the timeline you created yesterday, the highs, hurts, and elixirs, and reflect for a moment about where and how you've already traveled this arc. I want you to ask yourself these questions. What was my call to adventure, the moment that life invited me into change? Where did I resist the call to adventure? Where did I kind of push back, or you might hear this call in some way, this nudge to do something different, but you're resisting. You turn on media, you turn on Netflix. That's the resistance you might be experiencing. When you look into your past, can you see examples of when you decided to push through that resistance and crossed a threshold into something new? Maybe it was deciding to go to college when you graduated from high school. That's maybe not a lot of resistance there, but maybe there was. Maybe marriage was one of those, or a relationship, or deciding to quit your job and to start something new. That's a crossing of the threshold in your life. And then also look at who have the allies been in your life? Who are the mentors that you've come across? Who is your tribe, and how did that come about? Any dark nights of the soul that you've had? And then also what transformed afterward? What was the dark night, but what transformation happened as a result of that? How did you get out of that? And finally, what gift or elixir do you have to take with you to give as a gift to other people? A lesson learned, something that transformed you that you can share with other people in some way. When you trace that pattern, that heroic arc, your life stops looking like random chaos and starts looking like a story with direction, with meaning, with purpose. So in terms of practice, just to reemphasize, every hero's journey eventually turns into a new one. This is where the Good Life Project idea comes in as you begin to craft something new for this next season of your life. Think of it as the next adventure you're being called to, something that will stretch you, challenge you, redefine you perhaps in some way. This is where you can refer to your Good Life list that you've been working on since day one. Hopefully you've been collecting some ideas and brainstorms about what you're curious about, passionate about, and developed a list of 25 items or so. These items are like clues to your next heroic adventure in life. You might have ideas around starting a creative project of some kind. Maybe, like me, it involved just deconstructing your faith and reinventing a spirituality for yourself. Maybe it's launching a small business, a small YouTube channel, going back to school, or it could be deepening your sense of community and connection with other people. You can continue to add to your life list. We're not going to narrow it down till next time. Just be mindful of the items you're putting down and maybe even begin to reflect on any themes that you're seeing as you brainstorm, any things that might be standing out to you as more important than others on your list. What are you most curious about? All right, so here's the exercise or practice for today. The first thing is to write down the stages of the heroic journey that I mentioned as a way to reinforce for yourself this framework, to hopefully make it more a part of who you are. So as I mentioned, the research shows that if you see your life in this way, just that act of reframing things in terms of a heroic journey, that can increase meaning and purpose in your life. So I want you to take the time to do that. Then you've been adding to your life list, but then take some time to maybe identify a few of your items on the top of your list. What is it that excites you the most right now? What makes you come alive and you think could be sustained over several months to a year in terms of a good life project from your life list? Tomorrow we'll look at the compass point, which we've been highlighting today a little bit, is what makes you come alive, the M in the compass. So we'll begin to refine our life list and then turn that into more specific directions for our future. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow.